If you or someone you know is in the process of applying for an H-1B visa, especially if you're a highly skilled professional from India working in fields like IT, engineering, or tech, there is important news you need to hear. Reports are emerging that U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, along with Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, have been sending back Indian H-1B visa holders at ports of entry or delaying their approvals amid shifting priorities in Silicon Valley and broader changes in how the H-1B program is being administered. This isn't just about policy on paper. It's affecting real people, real families, and real careers. My name is James. I've been a senior U.S. immigration professional for 6 years, and through Immigration News Today, I'm here to give you the facts, the context, and the practical steps you can take to understand what's happening and protect your immigration journey. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because what I'm about to share could help you or someone you care about navigate this challenging moment with clarity and confidence. Let me start with something I know many of you are feeling right now. You've worked hard to get where you are. Maybe you were recruited by a major tech company. Maybe you've been living and working in the U.S. for years on an H-1B visa, or you're trying to get your foot in the door through the lottery system. You've followed the rules, paid your fees, jumped through the hoops, and now you're hearing that H-1B visa holders from India, the largest group of recipients by far, are being sent back or experiencing significant delays. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and most of all, it's frightening. Especially when you're talking about your ability to work, to support your family, to stay in the only country you've come to call home. I understand that fear, and I'm here to help you cut through the noise and understand exactly what's going on. As of date, there are credible reports based on information from immigration attorneys, industry insiders, and reputable news outlets such as Reuters, The Wall Street Journal, and The New York Times, indicating that a significant number of Indian H-1B visa holders are experiencing delays at U.S. ports of entry, particularly those arriving from India with newly issued visas or trying to renew or transfer their status. In some cases, travelers have been sent back to India or asked to return to their home countries for additional administrative processing. In other cases, visa stamps that were previously approved are now raising red flags, and officers at ports of entry are taking a more cautious approach. While these incidents are not affecting every H-1B holder, they are happening often enough to raise serious concerns within the tech community and among immigration professionals. To understand why this is happening now, we need to look at the bigger picture. The H-1B visa program has always been highly competitive, with demand far outstripping supply. Every year, U.S. companies, especially in the tech sector, rely on the H-1B program to bring in skilled workers from around the world, with the vast majority coming from India. Over the past decade, more than 70% of all H-1B visas have been issued to Indian nationals, many of whom work in tech hubs like Silicon Valley. But in recent years, that dynamic has started to shift. Tech companies are increasingly automating roles, restructuring teams, and rethinking their reliance on foreign labor. At the same time, the U.S. government has been under political pressure to tighten oversight of the H-1B program, citing concerns about abuse, fraud, and the displacement of American workers. Now, let's break down what's actually happening on the ground, and what it means for you or someone you know who's impacted by these changes. The first thing to understand is that the H-1B visa itself hasn't been canceled, and the lottery system that selects applicants for available visas is still in place. In April of each year, U.S. companies apply for H-1B visas on behalf of foreign workers, and those applications are entered into a random selection process. If selected, the worker can then apply for the visa itself, which allows them to live and work in the United States for up to 3 years, with the possibility of renewal. That core process is still happening. But what's changing is the way those visas are being issued, reviewed, and enforced, particularly for applicants from India. One of the key factors contributing to the current challenges is increased scrutiny at U.S. ports of entry. CBP officers have broad discretion when it comes to admitting foreign nationals, And in recent months, there have been reports of officers taking a more cautious approach when processing H-1B holders, especially those arriving from India. This means that even if you have a valid H-1B visa stamp in your passport, you could still be questioned extensively at the border, asked to provide additional documentation, or in some cases, denied entry and asked to return to your home country. These delays and denials are not happening to everyone, but they are happening often enough that they're causing widespread concern. Another factor is the broader political and economic environment. In recent years, there has been growing scrutiny of the H-1B program in Congress and among the public. Lawmakers have raised concerns about whether the program is being used to replace American workers or to bring in lower-cost labor. While there is no definitive evidence that this is widespread, the perception has led to increased pressure on USCIS and CBP to enforce the rules more strictly. This has resulted in more requests for evidence, more delays in processing, and more caution at the port of entry. At the same time, tech companies in Silicon Valley, which have historically been the largest users of the H-1B program, are undergoing their own transformations. Automation, artificial intelligence, and shifting business models are leading some companies to reduce their reliance on foreign labor. Others are restructuring their teams or relocating certain roles overseas. These changes are affecting the demand for H-1B visas, even as the program itself remains in place. So what does all of this mean for you? If you're an H-1B visa holder, if you're applying for one, or if you're sponsoring someone for an H-1B visa, here are the key things you need to know and the steps you can take to protect your status and your plans. If you're an H-1B visa holder traveling internationally, especially if you're returning from India or another country, it's more important than ever to double-check your documents before you leave. Make sure your visa stamp is valid, make sure you have your I-797 approval notice, and make sure you have any other supporting documentation that proves your employment and your intent to return to the United States. When you arrive at the port of entry, be prepared for additional questioning. Answer questions honestly and confidently, and have your documents organized and accessible. If you're unsure about what to bring or how to prepare, consult with an immigration attorney or your employer's HR department before you travel. If you're applying for an H-1B visa for the first time, either through the lottery process or as a transfer, be aware that the process may take longer than usual. Processing times have increased in recent months, and there is a higher likelihood of receiving a request for evidence or experiencing delays. Work closely with your employer's immigration attorney to make sure your application is as complete and accurate as possible. Double-check all of your information, and don't hesitate to ask questions if something doesn't make sense. If you're sponsoring an H-1B visa for an employee, make sure you're working with an experienced immigration attorney who understands the current landscape. The rules are complex, and the stakes are high. Make sure your job offer meets the requirements for the H-1B program, and make sure your employee has all of the documentation they need to apply. Be prepared for delays, and don't assume that approval is guaranteed, even if you've been through the process before. If you're in the process of renewing or transferring your H-1B visa, pay close attention to any communication from USCIS. If you receive a request for evidence, respond as quickly and thoroughly as possible. If your case is taking longer than expected, follow up with your attorney or the USCIS contact center to check on the status. Don't assume that silence means everything is fine. Proactive communication can make a big difference. Let me share a couple of real-world scenarios to illustrate how these challenges are playing out in practice. Take the case of Priya, a software engineer from Bangalore who was offered a job at a major tech company in California. She applied for an H-1B visa through the lottery process and was selected. She traveled to the US for the first time last year and had no issues entering the country. But when she returned to India for a family emergency and tried to re-enter the US, a few months later, she was pulled aside for additional questioning at the airport. Her visa stamp was valid and she had all of her documents, but the CBP officer wanted to see more evidence of her employment and her intent to return. After an hour-long interview, she was eventually admitted, but the experience left her shaken. Priya's story is a reminder that even if you've traveled on an H-1B visa before, you can still face challenges when returning to the U.S. Or consider the case of Ravi, a data analyst who has been working in the U.S. on an H-1B visa for 3 years. His employer applied for an extension of his visa, but the case has been pending for months with no decision. He's been told by his attorney that processing times are longer than usual, and he's worried about what will happen if his extension is denied. Ravi's situation highlights the delays that are affecting many H-1B holders, even those who are already in the U.S. and working legally. These stories are not uncommon, and they're a sign of the challenges that many H-1B visa holders and applicants are facing right now. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself and your future. As we come to the close of this video, I want to remind you why Immigration News Today exists. This channel is here to give you accurate, verified information about the immigration system, the good, the challenging, and everything in between. I will never overwhelm you with fear or speculation. I will always strive to give you the facts you need to make informed decisions, and I will always encourage you to seek professional guidance when it comes to your individual case. If this video helped you understand the current challenges facing H-1B visa holders, especially those from India, and what you can do to protect your status, please take a moment to like it, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to Immigration News Today with notifications turned on. I'm here every day to keep you updated on the latest developments in immigration law and policy, and I'll make sure you hear about any changes as soon as they happen. Before I go, my standard disclaimer: everything I've shared today is for general informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. Immigration law is complex, and your individual situation may have unique factors that require professional evaluation. Please consult with a qualified immigration attorney or accredited representative for advice specific to your case. Always verify information with official government sources. The information I provided is accurate as of date. Thank you for trusting me with your immigration journey. My name is James, and this is Immigration News Today. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next update. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.